Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 camp build. So, today we are working on a raider build that has been, until recently, quite difficult to pull off, but I'm pretty pleased with how this has come out, so let's jump into this. Okay, so yeah, definitely challenging to pull off, although I was thinking of pushing this build back a little bit, just because the next sort of season window coming up the next few months is going to have a whole bunch of cool Raider-themed and adjacent stuff that will work quite well for that sort of build, but I kind of want to do it now, so here we are. So let's have a look at where we are. Speaking of here we are, right here, just down the road from Foundation. And I picked this spot because I thought it was a good place for raiders to ambush people from Foundation. And I was planning on actually setting up a little further from the road, but this spot turned out to be pretty much ideal for it. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see there, the marker's actually spot on the location. Sometimes it's not quite so accurate. Today, it is, so that's cool. So here we go. Right by the road, nice and secure. Gone for a sturdy junk wall, and yeah. Definitely been difficult until recently to pull off a raider camp, I feel. We're still lacking kind of spikes and tents and things like that. But aside from that, I think we're kind of getting a decent basis of stuff to work with. So for the front gate here, we've got the pit sort of scaffolding set that I've kind of finagled to make some defensive emplacements, some lookout points. It's come together quite nicely, and it's got that good scrappy vibe. In hindsight, I should have probably used the car gate that was put in a few months back, but it was too late by the time I remember that thing existed, so it is what it is. I do quite like the results anyway. Managed to mix in most of the major defensive items here, and it's come out pretty well, I think. We've got a pretty cool look. Double layered things in a few places, kind of thicken up the walls a little bit, make it feel a bit more substantial, and make sure the more chain link orientated stuff doesn't feel like somebody can just, stick a gun through there and mow everybody down. Make the place feel a bit more secure. Few exceptions, but it's a raider place, Scrappy, not the best, half-hearted, that sort of thing is kind of the right vibe for a raider place. So my initial thought here was I wanted most of these structures to be inside the walls rather than incorporating them into the walls. But with the space available, the lay of the land, and budgetary considerations, that really wasn't going to work out so well, so I did have to incorporate them in a little bit. But it works okay, quite happy with the results. Added a few extra bits outside just to kind of, add some extra depth and sort of make it feel a bit more like it's a permanent structure. Definitely layered up heavily over the communist piece of fence there. Looks quite nicely. Added a few extra trees as well, just to kind of use the environment a bit more and bring it back after it's been bulldozed. So quite happy with the look there. There's some fairly simple structures here. This is the major reason we're touring rather than doing a build on this, because the few things I have actually built are dead simple to build, and a couple of areas where there are slightly more advanced techniques I'll mention in a bit, and point you to videos that will show you how to do that. So 80%, 90% at least of this, I think, is really just decoration or junk walls, which are simple enough to do. Yeah, do quite like the result. A couple of mannequins up there with some raider outfits to stand guard. I give the right impression anyway, seeing as we're limited in the number of people we can have in our camps for now. So, let's head on inside. I actually had to lock this gate in the end, as I've got an ally and a Collectron in here, both of which really like opening that gate, which is kind of annoying. So I had to lock it, and anybody who wants to visit will have to hop over, which is perfectly doable, so not too much of a problem. So here we go. Scrappy, chaotic, and a little bit scary, which is kind of the vibe for a raider camp, really. A couple of cells, cages out here for locking any prisoners in. Decided to use the fur sleeping bags, which I can't remember where they came from, but they're pretty cool as sort of pile of rags vibe for any prisoners to sleep on. This little corner here, the ground is particularly uneven and there's a whole bunch of trees on it, so it's not really the most useful space, so I figured raiders just kind of work around it and shove rubbish there, so that's the vibe I've gone for. I quite like the look. Leaving the trees in just really creates that kind of ramshackle, not particularly high effort build, which is kind of the way the raiders go, really, and chaotic and busy as well. So to get this particular setup here for the pit's scaffold to create this kind of guard post, I had to play around with it a bit. I put the scaffolding in, got it in the right place, and then moved the ramp as close as I could to it with the snapping off, because it won't sink down, it won't always snap, and they're a bit finicky about that. So once I got the ramp pretty much where I wanted it, and then switched back over to snapping the scaffolding onto the ramp rather than the other way around. It took a little bit of playing around with to get it in exactly the right place, and yeah, it was a little awkward, but it managed, and it makes for a decent little guard post up there, I think. Let's swing back around here. One of the big things, and possibly the single thing that made the biggest impact to finalising this build, was initially, and for a long time, I had a big open space in the middle of the camp here. It was basically a circle with a big open clearing in the middle. And it really didn't capture that Raider vibe. And then I dropped the car in, started piling bits of junk and stuff around it, and it very rapidly filled that gap in, changed the shape a lot, made it much more organic, kind of extended that set of trees and stuff out into the middle of the camp. Really made the whole thing feel much more ramshackle and like there's just piles of crap dragged together and thrown in heaps and stuff, which really captures the Raider vibe a bit more. So that was probably the biggest change that really made a big impact to the interior space, at least. A little shooting range in the corner there. Have a look at our other guard post. Decent view up and down the road here if they want to ambush anybody or see anybody wanting to ambush them. Quite like this little spot for that. It's really flat as well. Kind of in a little bit of a hollow, but flat within that. It's quite a nice spot. Yeah, we'll drop back down. So, getting the stairs in here was a little bit of an exercise, and I had to pick and choose which staircase to use and use a bit of flamethrower work to get all the stairs in on these foundations, but it did work. The idea with this structure here is that we've got these ghoul chairs, and nobody in their right mind is going to use them, or sit on them, or anything of the sort, given that they're made out of live ghouls. Not even raiders are that daft. So, I did think, however, they might like the idea of tying prisoners to them. So, not very pleasant, but kind of very raider, so that's what those are there for. So I'm going to swing around the corner here and take a look at the treehouse here, which is a prefab. So keep an eye out for that on the Atomic Shop if you want to pick it up. It's a bit weird, to be honest. Figuring out where to put it and what it goes well with, because it really does dominate a build, can be a bit awkward, but in this case it kind of tucks reasonably nicely out of the way, changed up the shape and made the whole thing a bit more interesting and disorganised looking, which is kind of what you need for a raid camp, and works well as a kind of home for the boss raider, which is what I've gone for. So we've got a couple of barbed wire fences here that come from Hunt for the Treasure Hunter, that work really nicely just to stop you falling off the top here, which is easy done otherwise. The door is from the UFO prefab, which worked quite well, kind of gives that ramshackle improvised feeling. And as I say, my goal here is a little shelter and house for the boss raider. I've got some booze and some other bits and pieces that have built up a collection. I put the coffee machine in there because, well, I needed to put it somewhere. And always good to have that around. My idea was we've got a really uncomfortable chair here in one corner and a more comfortable one behind us, we'll see again in a second, for the raider boss to have meetings with people. Anybody who's come to visit gets to look at severed heads and sit on a very uncomfortable chair and be made to feel generally uncomfortable. That was the vibe I was going for with that little sort of stool behind the corner there. I did have a different chair in originally, but it didn't look uncomfortable enough. So there we go. Really good view up here as well, perhaps even better than the guard post have. Although perhaps a little bit too visible. To say, with it being this close to foundation, the biggest issue is that they would allow the raiders time to set up something as complex right on their doorstep. But otherwise, it's quite a fun little spot and vibe. Have a little look at the back of this heap of junk here. So I just set up a kind of chopping block down here to give Jaime Lannister a few nightmares. And basically I put that on a really small stone and then used the merge glitch, which I will link a video to if you want to know how to do that and you don't. Yeah, use that merge glitch to drop it down so that it sits really close to the ground. Kind of get the vibe there. That's visible from the throne that we'll see in a minute. I'm going to head on in and take a look at this little lean-to here, which is meant to be the bedroom space for the resident raiders. A few sleeping bags and mattresses chucked on the floor. So it's a dead simple set of half walls, some angled roofs on the top, and then a bunch of stuff just stuck to it to make it look ramshackle and scrappy. Came out quite nicely. Get this cooking station in was a bit of a palaver, to be honest. It's a really nice little bit of flat ground here, which is convenient. But to get the fire underneath it, I had to use the flamethrower trap to destroy the cooking station and then really patiently finagle until the thing decided it wanted to drop in and rotate it and play with it for quite a while. It was a bit of a nightmare to get that to work, but eventually it came together, which I'm quite pleased about. So, over here we have our Raider boss's throne, and as much as I like that Blood Eagle totem on top there, I've not powered it up because it's noisy as heck and quite irritating in that regard. But I'm quite happy with how this little throne spot has come together. The main structure is from the Brotherhood porch kit, which is separate to the rest of the building kit. Weird, but it is what it is. It was added later. And it makes for some interesting structures, that kit, actually. In this case, it makes quite a nice sheltered roof for the throne. We've added a whole bunch of fire and nastiness to give it an intimidating vibe. I did quite like how that's come out. Squeeze my vendor in down here. I went with the red Nuka-Cola machine just because I wanted it to blend in with everything else, but also kind of be relatively easy to spot for anybody coming around as a bit of a practical consideration. It's not that easy, but still. So here we have a pavilion that is a crafting space, and initially I set this up with a floating roof. So I will link to a tips video including how to do that if you are curious, although in the back corner we do actually have two half walls holding the roof up now, so I changed my mind as I went along. But yeah, the idea was to create a kind of open-sided pavilion and then put all the crafting benches under here. And I wanted to mix up the shape a little bit, make it a bit more interesting, which is why I've got a bunch of stuff in the centre around that middle post there, which if you're wondering how to get those posts on the corners, video I just mentioned has tips on that as well. Is our brewing station there. I kind of like how this has turned into a bit of a spiral, working its way in towards the centre. It's come out quite nicely, and it's a different tone and vibe. A couple of bits of scrap on the floor there that come with the attached to and a part of that Tinker's bench, the taxidermy one. It's a bit situational, that bench, but it works quite well for a raider vibe, and adds some extra decoration just as part of the item, which is cool. A few extra bits and pieces down there to break down, and we have here a fermenting station on the right there. The fermenter that was, this particular skin version of it was added for the 5th anniversary a couple of weeks ago, which is very cool. There is one from the season which is ending tomorrow that is basically the same but with a different colour scheme, which is also quite nice. And I've gone for a dark coloured power armour station because it felt a bit more raidery than the yellow one. I know there is a Raider one out there somewhere, but I seem to recall it's in a bundle that I didn't pick up because I generally didn't want most of what was in it. So, one of those. But if you happen to have it, that would certainly blend in quite nicely. So there we go. Nice little, well, nice in big air quotes, crafting space. So I really like the way it's kind of turned into a spiral. We've got a bunch of useful bits and pieces coupled with the pile of junk around here just to add functionality and interest and stuff to this general area. I used the Nuka-Cola Collectron because I don't have the Raider one. Again, until recently, we really couldn't do a decent job of Raider camps. And there's still bits that I would like to have that we don't. But for that reason, I never picked up the Raider Collectron. So use the porta cabins here because Raiders using improvised stuff makes sense. I know there's a more Raidery themed outhouse, but I use that a lot. So porta cabins I haven't used in a while, so that was kind of fun. A little bit of water, a little bit of junk, and symptomatic, which is somewhere between junk and useful functional item, tucked out the way because it's a bit high tech. So I'll tuck it in the corner behind the trees where it doesn't look quite so out of place. And there we go. One reasonably comfortable Raider camp, or as comfortable as Raider camps get. I think it's captured the vibe quite well. Like I say, we're missing spikes and tents and stuff, unfortunately. But otherwise, I think it's come together really quite nicely. I'm quite pleased with the result. Very heavy on the decoration and relatively simple to build. As I say, do check out the cards in the top right corner if you want to find links to those tips videos on how I did everything. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching, folks. If you found this one interesting and informative, quite pleased with the result, I must say. If you did like the video, please consider dropping likes and subs. Very much appreciated. Down below as well, you can find social media links, merch store, and channel memberships on the blue join button. If you'd like to support the channel that way, I hugely appreciate it. Really, really helps out. Massive thank you to everyone who's done that. I very, very much appreciate. And yes, if you get a chance, join us for live streams as well. We are going to be playing some Fallout tomorrow for the new update. Looking forward to that. And we are, of course, playing Starfield as well. Having a lot of fun with that. Doing some fun builds and stuff in Starfield too. So do check those out. Got another one coming very, very soon as well. So keep it here, notification bell, if you want to be notified when I upload, which Got a few things planned for the next few weeks, so that should be cool. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.